Welcome to the Literally First Class podcast, where I will teach you how to overcome anxiety and achieve somatic success. I'm your host, Keri Ford. I'm a somatic success and holistic life coach here to bring humor, insight, and wisdom to the modern day woman that wants to feel alive in her daily life. You ready? Come on, I saved you a seat in first class. The other side of the mountain. Most people don't talk about this part, but there's two sides to a mountain. Obviously, there is the ascension, the rising, the climbing, the pushing, the forwarding, the momenting, whatever. There is then the downslope. Then there is the descension? What is that word? Anyway, you're now going down the mountain. Now, most of us that have been to the top of the mountain don't want to go down. So we find another mountain to build and climb and to scale and ascend so we can reach the top of that mountain. There's nothing wrong with that, ever. I think it's great. It gives people purpose. It feels awesome to be recognized. It can also be really lonely at the top of the mountain, and it can feel slightly, dare I say, disappointing to come down the other side of the mountain, because that's where success feels like, is this it? Like, I thought this would feel different once I got here, once I reached the top of the mountain. Now what? Now where do I go? Where do I go? I'm at the top. Where do I go from the top? And that's a big mindfuck, if we're being honest. A lot of women come to me and they struggle with those things. And it might not seem like something worthy of struggling with, but it so is. Think about an athlete. Think about the peak life of an athlete. There was this one guy, my son was in a summer camp, and they were using this, it was like during COVID, they had to shift places that they were hosting it. And so where they ended up hosting it, because all these other places were closed down, like the church that they were going to do it in, it was like this karate place in a strip mall area, like in a nicer part, one of the towns here in Atlanta. But they're in this karate place, and I'm talking to the guy that is one of the coaches for the program, and he's telling me all about his past and how he is this famous, like, I might be using the wrong term here, but famous kickboxer who is like a world-renowned athlete and champion. And here he is at this strip mall karate place running a summer camp that has nothing to do with karate. They infused a bit of karate because it's what he knows into the summer camp, and it's like his skill set, and it was fun for the kids. I mean, Peyton came home and had a really fun time showing us some of these moves. But I'm sure that he did not think, you know what I want to do at the top of my career? I'm going to go work at a strip mall in this, East Bumblefuck place in Atlanta and be running a summer camp. I mean, he can't be making more than like a minimum wage type salary. And he was kind of in the glory days energy when he was telling me about all this. And there was a sadness to him. I'm not saying that everybody that has been a professional athlete or has experienced kind of a peak career in something like that feels that way, even if they were to go on to coaching afterwards. But it also feels like there's not much of a place for them to go after. You think about even war veterans, like finding their way back into regular life is a struggle, right? They've got PTSD, they've got other complications from all the experiences and arguably these many highs, whether or not they were positive or negative experiences. I'm going to guess not all of them are positive. But coming back to civilian life is a huge, huge feat. And so there's this kind of settling in. And so not many people really love to be in that place. And the point I'm making is that there's a dark side to success. There's a dark side to the uprising, because where do you go when you're already at the top? Do you climb the next mountain? What do you find you do? I'm curious. We talk about this in the archetypes actually. One of the archetypes is called the pusher. And she historically always creates the next mountain to climb, even if she's already on a current mountain. She's like anticipating getting to the top and creating the next one. And like I said, it's a balance because you want to make sure that you're creating momentum and goals and visions from the space of true like alignment and life purpose, because that feels really good and it gives us something to live for, obviously. But also we need to balance that with, from what place am I driving from? Is this from the constant need to always be climbing and pushing? Because what happens when I make all this money and I achieve all this success? Then what? And it goes back to the argument that I make, or the question I pose, which is, are we really wealthy if we're only rich in part of our lives? I don't think many of us would say, I hope that I have all the wealth in the world, but I hope that I'm by myself to share it with no one, or I hope to have the most amazing partnership, but I would really love my health to fail me. That's not living a holistically successful life, right? Living it all, having it all, is having some element of success in most areas of our life, having more than we need to be comfortable and to give back monetarily, to have relationships that fill us up, that nurture us, where we feel seen, heard, and loved. We can share life with people, our community, our family, friends, like partner, and our health. If we don't have one of those things, we're missing a big piece of the puzzle in terms of holistic success, the 360 lens. And this is really what I'm talking about when I talk about somatic success. So many women come to me and they say, I've achieved all these things. I know I can make money. I know that whatever I set out to create, I can and I will. And there is something really fucking powerful, I will say, about that woman that trusts herself and the resiliency that she has, because that she's been around the block a few times. There is a certain level of experience and trial and error and failure and learning in order for her to be able to have that, be able to come to the realization that, like, yeah, I got me. Like, I'm good at this. This is figure outable. But then they kind of check that box, or they get this windfall of success, and they arrive at the top of the mountain and they look around and they go, I just thought this would feel different. I thought I would feel happier about this. I'm confused. I kind of feel a little sad. I still feel unfulfilled. What is it that's going to have me feel full and brimming with aliveness? If it's not that, then what? Now what? What's next? And so we start thinking about legacy. We start thinking about hobbies and play. We start thinking about relationships and presence. We think about all the other things that success gets to be and feel like, in addition to keeping the hard-earned success and money that they have climbed the mountain to have and created potentially a quality of life that not many have, right? Maybe it's a couple houses, maybe it's several cars. It's the ability to travel at a very high level of luxury and experience. And I love that for them. I think luxury is art and life is meant to be lived in the best way that you can, having great food and good wine and all the things. Now, that's not what makes us feel rich necessarily, but it certainly doesn't hurt to have some of those, luxuries to experience. And so, what next, they ask? Where do I go from here? Well, community is also another important thing. So we talk about legacy, right? What are they leaving behind when they're not the one climbing the mountain? And there's others that are following their path behind them. Now knowing that it's possible, we talk about presence, really truly being present either in motherhood or in relationships, or just being able to slow down and it fucking feel good. Talk about play and hobbies. What is it to do something without creating a mountain to climb as a result? What does it truly feel like to play and not have to make it mean anything? You don't need to purpose it. And I did a couple episodes back, I told you about my staycation, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember. I love hot yoga. And it's great because I have zero desire to be a fucking hot yoga instructor. I have zero desire to be competitive with it. I don't want to pursue hours with getting certifications. I have zero desire to purpose it other than the art of showing up in that moment and doing it for the practice itself. That's it. Just where I get to meet me in that space. That is a hobby, and that's play. So really exploring what they like to do. And then also on the other side, how can we maintain, if they desire it, the level of success that they've created, right? So there is a little strategy involved there, but getting clear on what they want and how that fits into their holistic view of success in life, not just business. Where does business fit into your life and not the other way around? And so getting clear on what you want there so that we can make that happen. Because maybe they want to sell off the company or burn it down and start over and do something else. But first we get clear on from what place they're operating from. And then we get to simultaneously figure out in what direction are you wanting to head so that we can create the most authentic and aligned thing for you so that you can build that for your life and create that and live that. And sometimes that means not burning it down. It means delegating more, getting the right key players in there, rearranging the team, trimming up your schedule so that you have less things you need to show up for, but more things that you are lit up about and fired up to do because they're in your zone of brilliance and truly your gift. And you just get to do more of the fun stuff that you're already really good at. So there's all these things to consider on the other side of the mountain of success. And community was the other thing that I mentioned, but I wanted to circle back to, which is when you're at the top of the mountain and you realize that there are people looking up to you that are looking to follow your footsteps, there's also a responsibility that comes with that. And it can feel like pressure, but it also can feel like, man, I don't really relate to a lot of people. So I want to invite you to find your community, your tribe of women that are also at the top of their respective mountains so that you can link arms, you can join forces, and you can normalize this big success that you have created and come together in community that way. You don't need to even be in the same industry. In fact, all the women that come to my Made for More retreats or any retreats that I have hosted, they're from all walks and industries. Most of my one-on-one clients, they've done everything from running franchise med spas and hair salons that are extremely successful with all the bougie extensions to healthcare and doctors. I mean, literally, the gamut is wide, but they all have this thing in common, which is that they are high performance, high achieving women that are not scared to climb the mountain. They're like, how high? I got this. But they do get to the top and they're like, now what? And nobody's here. And like, man, I feel lonely and I have trouble making friends with people. And I feel like the only people I'm friends with are the people I work with. So if that's you, it's time to build out your community. It's time to lock arms with other women at the top. Because I will tell you, going down the other side of the mountain, and there are going to be natural ebbs and flows to success, especially as you navigate and create and build and explore what holistic success looks like and feels like to you outside of just business and money. It's less lonely when you're doing it together with other people. So I didn't mean to talk about the Made for More retreat, but here we are. So if that's you, we still have a few spots left at the Made for More retreat in August. I'm hosting it here. We're in Atlanta in the hills of Georgia. It's actually an amazing 1,000-acre sustainable farm, very relaxed luxury. Everyone has their own private amenities. Dr. Joe Dispenza has been at this specific place, and Elizabeth Gilbert, not at my retreats, but they've come to this retreat center. It's called Serenbe, and it is just beautiful. But even if it's not my retreat or it's not any of my programs, still find your community, find the other women at the top that you want to lock arms with, that you want to not only stay at the top of the mountain with, but maybe even explore the other side of the mountain. So that's just the journey of climbing the mountain and also having to come down the mountain at some point, maybe climb another or maybe not. But I thought I would talk about that a little bit because I don't think it's something that's talked about enough. And I don't think it's something that's normalized enough, where a lot of people question that and struggle with that. And I want to let you know there's nothing wrong with you for having those questions, especially when we've learned, you got to work so hard so then you can retire at X age, or once you get here, then you'll be happy. Once you make this per month or per year, then you'll be fulfilled. But we learned that that's not really living a rich life, is it? So, an invitation for you here to explore what comes up for you in this episode as you hear me ask those questions. Maybe you want to go back and listen to this again, do a little bit of journaling, and see how you define holistic success in health, wealth, and relationships. All right, keep it first class. I will see you next week on the podcast. I hope you enjoyed your flight, and I'll see you on board again soon. Seriously, though, thanks for listening. If you're ready to take this work deeper and upgrade your mind, I want to invite you to join us inside my Millionaire Mindset program. This is where you'll start using my guided meditations to help you overcome anxiety and experience even more abundance. When you join, you'll have access to my entire audio library. Head over to elevatewithkeri.com and we'll see you inside.